All right, it is 1 o'clock. We are going to get started in just a couple minutes. I see a few more people are starting to join us. And I've got somebody who's stuck out here, so I'm going to try and help them quick. And we'll go ahead and start session 2. How's everybody's week been?
Good.
Not everybody has their microphone off. Or on, I mean. Everybody does have the capability of talking this week if they want to.
My week was about the same as last week.
Is it? Working from home, right?
Yes.
Sandy, I'm going to ask you quick, since you're here, did you have to use the password when logging in today?
No, but I joined by the video Zoom thing first and used the phone number that popped up on my screen.
Okay.
Which didn't require the password, but if I just was going to dial in from my phone only without connecting by video, then I think when I did that last week, I had to use the password.
Okay. Do you happen to know the password off the top of your head? I don't.
Let me look quick.
Okay, because I have somebody locked out that's texting me here on the side.
I have it here, Tamara.
Do you? Okay.
Yes.
What?
The 6-digit password is 701385.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started because we've got quite a few people that have joined us now. Just to let you know, I did upload the video from last week, and I'll be sending out a email to everybody in case there's anybody else you want to share it with, or if somebody missed last week. I had a few people say that they were unable to attend last week and they'd asked for the information. So I'm going to get that out to you yet today. This one is also being recorded for the same purpose, so that hopefully anybody who does miss it can join us virtually later on. Welcome back. I did a little poll and sent out a survey to everyone last week, and just going to kind of share the results with you. I'm sorry. So I'm going to share the results from that survey with you. It looks like 71.4% of the people that are attending the seminars are actually working from home. The rest are essential workers. We don't have anybody that is currently unemployed through the COVID, at least, who did the survey. Let's see, we asked whether or not we should unmute everybody so that we can chat a little bit more, and that was pretty much unanimous. 84% said they would like to have their microphones turned on so that they're able to participate, so that's nice. Then I have a few things that they've asked to discuss that we'll come back to, but I just kind of want to recap a little bit some of the tips that John gave us last week about dealing with a crisis such as this. One of the things he had said is people first. Why do you think he said people need to be first? Anybody want to comment or chat?
I think it's because relationships are essential, whether you're large, small, for-profit, or nonprofit.
Yeah, I agree. You know, honestly, I think anytime you're dealing with leadership in general, people do have to come first. But I think when we're in troubling times like we're in now, it's even more essential to put people first, because we get stuck in the moment of, you know, maybe business is a lot more difficult than it's been in the past. Maybe you're having trouble communicating with your team members that are off-site, working off-site. And rather than focusing on all the problems, I think we just have to refocus back on people first. I really liked that idea. Educate ourselves. That was another thing he had talked about, which I think we can never stop educating ourselves. And I take that from him being he's 83 years old and still going strong and learning something new every day. So that to me is something that I hope to continue, and I hope everybody else does too. Being flexible. Honestly, you guys tell me, but I think this working from home has caused us to be more flexible than we've ever been at work. Do you agree or disagree? I had somebody say people are our most important asset. Totally agree. You know, are you guys finding that work is more flexible when you're at home than it was when you were in the office? More lenient, perhaps? Some are saying
well,
yes.
I think in terms of being flexible, it's a very fluid situation. So I think individuals and companies are facing something new every day.
Yeah.
So you almost have to adopt the mindset of this is new, it's going to change tomorrow, and we're going to have to be flexible.
Right.
Good example is, when do we reopen our business?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody really knows, you know, and
No.
keeps moving.
Yeah, it does.
What
It
the
does.
health
And
officials are doing.
it's kind of frustrating too, because you start to plan for a date and then it changes, or you think it's going to change. So it does. You're right. It makes it very difficult. Sandy, you said that you're working all hours of the day and night, which is good and bad. I agree that that's something that I do as well. Having it readily available at home. If nobody else is around, I come back in and start working again, which is kind of good, but you're right. Could be bad at times. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into session 2. Session 2 is battling the distractions during a crisis. Are you finding that you're having a lot of distractions working at home, or even as an essential worker, having distractions? What are some of the distractions that you're dealing with? As we watch the video, and the video today is actually only about 8 minutes, take a few minutes and either chat or write down a few things that you find yourself doing where your mind is wandering, whether it's social media, whether it's kids, whether it's dogs, whether it's whatever, bills, finances. Kind of come up with a list of things that you find that is distracting. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll watch the second video with John Maxwell, and then we'll come back. Is everybody able to see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the video.
The second comment on crisis is that a crisis is distracting. We use the term distraction, but I want to insert in this teaching right now the word traction, because traction is the opposite of distraction. You see, traction means to pull forward or to draw forward. It means that there's a momentum to move in the right direction. You've gained traction. You're making progress. Distraction is the opposite. It means to pull away. So when a crisis comes, it begins to pull us away. It begins to distract us. It begins to take us off course. It begins to confuse our priorities. It keeps us from making progress. So if traction is the action that draws us toward what we want in life, distraction are the actions that pull us away from the things that we want in our life. You want to get distracted? Just watch the TV news. Wow, I think we just need to fast from some of that. Honestly, their agenda is not always accurate reporting. They've got an agenda behind them. And let me just say this. As a leader, I hope you have no agenda except you put the people first every time. You see, that's the only thing as a leader that's going to keep me from falling and be a bad leader, because there's not much difference between manipulating the people and motivating them. Manipulating people is when I move you for my advantage. And so many times during a crisis, that's what leaders do. It's always wrong. It's wrong for leaders to do it. It's wrong for politicians to do it. It's wrong for the media to do it. It's wrong. What part of wrong don't we understand? But when we put the people first, when we have no agenda except lift people, serve people, add value to people, it helps us to keep some sort of traction in a time of distraction. Well, what's the results of distraction? Mind wandering. What do? Our mind begins to wonder. We begin to ask questions like, what could happen and what is happening and what's going, and we begin to ask questions that there are no answers to. Or negative thinking, everything is going wrong and it's never going to get better, or an uncertainty, anxiety, where we begin to look around and we begin to be dominated by fears. And let me tell you something, this crisis is a perfect storm. It's a perfect storm. It's a perfect storm for distraction, and fear is spreading faster than the virus. I say this in kindness. Just because your sky is falling doesn't mean my sky is falling. Now, are we in the same crisis? Yes. Are we in the same danger? Absolutely. But do we have the same perspective? Possibly not. I mean, my life has gone to pieces as far as my agenda and my priorities. I write, I speak. For April, May, I was traveling around the world speaking. They're all canceled. I'm not speaking anywhere. Who wants to be with people? I don't want to be with people. I don't want to speak until this thing's all taken care of. So somebody the other day called me and said, how are you doing? I said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm making lemonade. When given a lemon, make lemonade. So what am I doing? Am I speaking? No, that's canceled. It's all changed. Hey, that's a financial fallout. That's a leadership fall. I can give you all kind of fallouts from that. Of course I can. But what am I going to do? I can't control that. Nothing will cause you more anxiety than trying to control something you can't control. I watch people every day, I don't know, somehow reach out there with worry, thinking that anxiety and that worry will make things better for them. So what am I doing? Well, I'm reading books that I haven't been able to read for a while. I'm getting to write a book that I didn't have enough time to really write, and now I can write it and say, hey, because I'm writing now, it's the most important book I've ever written. Hey, I'm getting to exercise. I'm getting to spend time with my family. I can give you a whole list of things right now that I'm doing because of the crisis. So what do leaders do? Don't miss this point. Leaders help people get traction during distraction. And the first step of getting traction is getting rid of negative emotions. Wow. I'm going to read you something now. C.S. Lewis, many of you know that name, a brilliant apologetic, a brilliant mind, a tremendous educator, a writer whose writings today are still powerfully affected. I'm going to read you something that C.S. Lewis wrote 72 years ago, 1948. And it's going to ring with amazing relevance. The only thing I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is I would like you, he was talking about the atomic bomb back there because That was what people were greatly concerned about then. They had entered into the atomic bomb age. So the only thing I guess I'm asking you to do is substitute, if you want to, the atomic bomb with the coronavirus. Let me read. Just hang on. It's worth it. Mentally stay with me. In one way, we think a great deal too much of the atomic bomb. How are we going to live in an atomic age? I'm tempted to reply, why? As you would have lived in the 16th century, when the plague visited London almost every year, or as you would have lived in a Viking age, when raiders from Scandinavia might land and cut your throat any night, or indeed, as you're already living in the age of cancer, syphilis, paralysis, age of air raids, railway accidents, motor accidents, atomic bomb. In other words, do not let us begin by exaggerating the novelty of our situation. Believe me, dear sir or madam, you and all whom you love were already sentenced to death before the atomic bomb was invented. And quite a high percentage of us were going to die in unpleasant ways. We had indeed one very great advantage over our ancestors, anesthetics. It is perfectly ridiculous to go about whimpering and drawing long faces because the scientists have added one more chance of a painful or premature death to a world that is already bristled with such chances and in which death itself has no chance at all but certainty. This is the first point to be made. And the first action to be taken is to pull ourselves together. If we are going to be destroyed by an atomic bomb, let that bomb, when it comes, find us doing sensible and human things. Praying, working, teaching, reading, listening to music, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting to our friends over a pint and a game of darts. He was from England. Not huddled together like frightened sheep and thinking about bombs. They may break our bodies, but they need not dominate our minds, and that's huge. They may break our bodies, but they need not dominate our minds. In fact, if you're with somebody right now, I don't know, you may be in a family, or you with a couple, hope you're socially distancing, you're not with a lot of people, but if you're somebody, just look at somebody right now and say, fear will not dominate me. I got a choice here. And if you're not with anybody, say it to yourself, say it out loud, fear will not dominate me.
Welcome back. What'd you think?
I think his argument breaks down. Because we as humans need connection, and we're not being able to be connected right now. So, all of those things that he was talking about in terms of doing sensible and human things, because we are being asked to be physically distant from each other, we're not able to do those sensible and human things. Mm-hmm. Have a pint at the bar and play darts. No, I can't do it. Being told not to. So, to say this isn't different, I think is not right in that regard. Death is certainty. So I think that's don't let it dominate. Don't let fear dominate us. But
right.
A lot of those ways that we would kind of overcome that fear through human social interaction, right, we're not allowed to do so.
Right. I think it's creating stuff like this where we're trying to find other ways to connect. I know, like even with my grandson with school, they're now meeting daily with their classrooms via Zoom, which isn't perfect, no, but at least they're still seeing people. At least they're still spending some time. It's kind of cute because the first few days, everybody's wanting to take turns and show the rest of the kids their classrooms, which is their home. But we're finding new ways. What are some of the things that he did talk about that maybe you have been able to recognize as some of the good? I've got somebody who came on and said, and it's Jay Heckle, I believe, these distractions are actually a good thing to keep you focused on the big picture or on the whole operation. I'm not representative of the group at large. This is from Karen. I'm one of the few who would welcome a distraction or two. My issue is that I need to keep perspective and look beyond the immediate situation and to use schedule to keep myself in balance. Like Sandy and I find myself working, coming back to the office rather than taking a break from time to time. Jen says dogs and cats are trying to help on the rare occasion I can work from home. When other folks do come into the office, they want to try to catch up on the missing time. So more is thrown at you in less organized ways. Feels very sporadic and dysfunctional. Multitasking isn't always a good thing. Sally said the serenity prayer. Sandy, I find myself worrying about so many unknowns. How long before businesses can open back up? What if there's another flare up in the fall? The serenity prayer is certainly come in handy for her, she said. Diane, significant other, also working from home and spending a lot amount of time on video chat with coworkers. You know, that's something that I think we're doing. We're spending a lot more time video chatting, talking, trying to stay in contact as much as we can. I know for myself, and granted, I'm at home with my kids and my grandson, but I'm enjoying making dinner and everybody sitting down at the dinner table again. We haven't done that in years. We're eating on the run. You know, it seems as though we're connecting more again as a family, and maybe some of the rest of you have done that well, but I can say for myself, that was one thing that I think I didn't do well. And this has really woke me up in regards to that. When he talked about the negative thinking, you know, a few of you mentioned on the side some of the things that you were, you know, some of the negative thinking that you had in the video chat there. Is there anything anybody would like to share verbally, or do you just want to use the video chat or the chat session today? You know, Dick, you've been sharing with me, and that's great. I'm just not sure if anybody else, maybe they don't have the opportunity to either.
I thought it was unanimous.
I thought it was too. Looks like it's me and you.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul said he really had to get up to speed on technology, that Zoom and etc. You know, and that's true. A lot of us had to change because honestly, normally when I do classes, it's all hands-on in class where we're, you know, breaking into little groups and talking things through as smaller groups and then coming back together. And this is definitely very different for me. And I'll be happy to say that this is my second webinar. So hopefully we're doing okay with it. What specifically, and this I'd like to hear from everybody, whether you do it in the chat, I'll read them, or if you want to jump in, unmute yourself. But what are some of the things that you're doing to stay positive during this time? And as somebody said that, I think it might have been Karen, I'd have to go back up, said finding a schedule is something that's difficult right now. That is one of the things they do highly recommend, though, is having a daily schedule of doing things.
You know, one of the things John talked about was the media right now, and understanding that the media has an agenda in a lot of cases. So I've been trying to limit myself to social media.
Yeah.
So, you know, not going to it as the only source, whether that's my Twitter feed or, you know, I do watch one segment of the national news and one segment of the local news.
Right.
And then I read recaps of media in the morning. So read my Wall Street Journal. I read a New York Times is actually free right now following the coronavirus. So just, you know, making sure I'm staying up to date.
Right.
Not allowing the negativity that is in social media. I just don't look at it. don't consider it. I think it's also, even though we can't physically surround ourselves with positive people, I think you need to stay in touch with people who you know are positive people.
Absolutely.
Don't go to negative people. Don't go to the people that are going to suck you dry.
Mm-hmm.
If you know somebody who's positive and
Yeah,
has a positive outlook on life, connect with them.
exactly.
Have your own group of positive people, put them together.
Right, right. And that's one of the things too that I'm hoping that this group can do is be positive, add affirmation to one another and add positivity to each other's lives, because you're right. One of the problems that in normal work days that we all tend to do is when you're upset about something, typically we go to somebody who's going to validate why we're upset, which then just fuels the fire. Where that negativity is, we're making it much worse than it needs to be. Sometimes I think we need to rethink who we take things to and look at the people that will give it a new look at it through different eyes, and give us a better outlook. Because yeah, we can, if we just want to stay in a pity party all day, it's really easy to do that because we can find those people. But we can also find those positive people that can help pull us out of those slumps if we look. When you think of social media, I had a friend on social media contact me and make the comment, oh, I think I'm just going to get off social media, it's just too negative. And one of the things I recommended is unfollow the people that are negative. Stop following them. You're allowing them in your space. You don't have to. Doesn't mean you're not friends with them. Doesn't mean when this is over that you can't follow them again. But you choose who you follow and who you don't. And there are so many positive resources out there that we can all tap into. And that's why we did the Facebook Leading Crisis group. I've been trying to add different links and different things in there, just to give you some more outlooks, because there are positive people out there. We just have to work with them. I got a few chats that came in. We got, let's see, video messaging more with grandchildren. Yeah. It's funny because that option's always been available. Zoom's free, but we've never used it as readily because we think, oh, we'll get to see them this weekend. But it seems like we're talking to them almost on a daily basis now, which is kind of cool. Keeping in mind that this will end. Exactly, it will end. It's temporary. Unfortunately, we can't guess when it's going to end, which is sometimes the hard part. Connecting with peers for self-accountability, definitely. Meditation, love it. Not listening to every single news story. Yeah, I agree. Dick said the same thing. You pick a few that you can get valuable information from, and then shut the rest out. Because there again, if you overwhelm yourself with that type of negativity, it's just going to make it worse. So good. How do you, what are some of the things that you do to start your day on a positive note? Are there any things that you specifically do? And again, you can share them in the chat, or you can feel free to talk out loud.
Tamar, I have been resisting the temptation to check Facebook and Twitter first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I find that if I just make a cup of coffee and have a few minutes of time to myself, my attitude's a lot better than if I'm not even out of bed yet and I'm in a Facebook conversation with someone.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. A couple other people are saying opening the day with devotion. Kathleen said exercise. How many people are exercising when they never had the time before? I know I'm one of them. I've been exercising. No, Sandy? You're the only one I can see right now. Not picking on you.
How many people are eating more than they generally eat during the day? That's a better question.
I see that a lot too. Exactly. It's like you do one or the other. When I think the key is, and from everything I'm seeing, I've been watching a lot of these leading through crisis type videos and webinars and different things, but you know, they really said having a schedule is your best defense against this negativity and against the overeating or the stress that it's all causing. Somebody said I have to watch out for the comfort foods and junk. Kathy and I start our day in the Bible and praying together. I love that. That's very cool, Jeff. You know, for me, one of the first things I do when I wake up in the morning, you know how a lot of people will hit snooze? I hit snooze, but then I spend that time focusing on all the things that I'm thankful for. It's just like my daily affirmation, you know, that I wake up and I say, I'm thankful for my kids, my health, my whatever it is. That's how I start my day. And you'd be surprised at the difference it makes in your day. You know, I've always said in the past, don't hit snooze. And I found that by hitting the snooze, it made me accountable to myself and being proud of the things that I should be proud of, being happy with the things that I should be happy about. And I think that daily affirmation, at least for me, that's been a huge thing. What are some of the other things you guys have been doing? I know a couple people said, you know, working all hours of the night. I think Sandy and Karen both had said that, you know, that it's real easy to jump back on and go to work. And I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with staying busy as long as you're not letting it overwhelm you either. When is somebody, everybody's on microphone, so if you want to talk, you can, or you can mute it until you choose to, just so everybody knows. I like this. Somebody Diane just said, step outside and greet the morning. Yeah, to me, there's nothing better than to watch the sunrise in the morning. That is so rejuvenating. And I think, again, in the past, I was long gone before the sun ever came up. So often I didn't see it. You know, I didn't take advantage of looking out the window. And sometimes where I was, there weren't any windows. So yeah, that's really cool too, is acknowledging and knowing nature and valuing it. You know, even if it's taking a walk out in your yard. I know many people right now, for me, even though we just got a ton of snow last week, as soon as the snow was gone, I have little flowers everywhere. And that's just exciting to see. It's kind of rejuvenating. Don't let those things go by. Enjoy them. More time to spend with pets. Long dog walks. I like that one. What are some other things that you've done? All right. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the participant guide. There are some questions there. You know, we're looking at this from a leader standpoint again. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you have to be a leader in a business. It can be a leader within your family, within your community. But why is it so easy for us leaders to get so distracted during the crisis? What are some of the things that distract you?
So I think when you begin to think about business, most of us do an annual plan, an annual operating plan. And we set out, you know, a strategy to meet our mission, and we have a bunch of operational tactics to support each of those strategies. And then something happens. And there's always things that happen without a pandemic. But when there's something that's completely out of your control, as this was, then that causes a lot of anxiety and distractions because now you're not in control.
Right.
And I think as a leader, that's what makes this. I don't want to say unique because I think Maxwell would say, like C.S. Lewis, hell,
Yeah.
something's going to kill us. Whether it's an atomic bomb or a plague or a pandemic, we're all going to die anyway. That's what's certain. But when you don't have control, or you think you don't have control, and even though you've laid out this great plan, and in fact, maybe you were beating your plan,
Yeah.
boom, then all of a sudden something happens and now you don't have control. So it's all those things that are outside your control that cause you to get distracted.
Absolutely.
I have to agree completely with that. It's the most devastating thing, and it's what keeps my mind whirling in pointless circles. I should know better than to do it. That the strategic plan was great and made decision making almost automatic, but now there's such a lack of information. It's like playing blind man's bluff with everything that you wanted to do without any information, so much uncertainty. It's hard to know which way to go next.
Yeah. It is quite the waiting game. That's for sure. And nobody likes being in a situation that we're not in control of. And I think, I think it's affected all of us. Prior to this happening, I was teaching anywhere from 5 to 11 leadership classes a week. I'm down to 2 and this. It's a huge difference, huge for everybody. It's a financial burden. It's the what ifs, but we can what if ourselves to death. We really can. I think what will better serve us, and I think John said this too, is really focusing on what is in our control. What can we do for our business right now to that maybe we didn't have time to do before. Maybe there are things in your strategic plan that you had on the docket that you wanted to get to, but because business was going so well, that kept getting pushed aside. Maybe now is the time to start looking at some of those other things or more creative ways. And I don't know what everybody's businesses are, but coming up with creative ways to keep your business alive. It's not going to be the same. And we know now it's not going to be the same all the way through May. And we don't know how long this is going to be. So I think it's about using that, what is in our control, what can we do, and start doing whatever we can. What businesses are you guys in, if you don't mind sharing?
I brew and sell beer.
Okay.
I lead a nonprofit.
Okay.
I'm a consultant for leader development and executive coaching.
Nice. Hospitality, marketing, public relations, I'm seeing on the side. You guys are probably seeing them too. Retail jeweler, public safety. That one's busy right now, I'm sure. Regional manager, regulator. When I think of the varying businesses that we have, accountant, again, I think, those of us that are able to work from home, if you're doing your same job, but you are working from home, it is different than those of us that run a business and business is closed. I think it affects us totally differently. As you had mentioned, Dick, that, you're waiting to see what happens next. Are there any ideas that you guys can share with one another to promote your businesses other than the way you had in the past?
Well, I think if we wanted to jump to, I think it's question number 3 on the outline guide. So I don't know, it's not answering your question exactly, Tamar, but
Right.
I'll
That's
get
okay.
back to that. But, you know, what are some of the ways that I think we can maintain focus in this kind of period of distraction? And I think one of them is we talked about it last session, is stepping up communication
Yeah.
with your team. So even though you can't be together face to face daily, having a daily stand-up call, you know, whether it's via Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever. So at least you check in with each other daily and kind of talk about how are things going and what are the tasks for the day. So that kind of helps focus people on the immediate task. I think kind of laying out a bigger goal. So working towards goal, having the end in mind. We have furloughed everybody from our Liney Lodge Tour Center gift shop, with the exception of people that are handling our e-commerce. But I've set a date when we're going to reopen.
Nice. Okay.
So, you know, June 25th, we're going to reopen. So we're working towards that date, and it helps those people focus on, okay, what is it that we're going to need to do to reopen?
Right.
Going to look like when we do reopen. And I think that way you help focus on what you can control. Now, we may not open on the 25th. A whole lot of other things may happen. Maybe we'll be able to open earlier. We don't know, but at least you're focused on that. I think focus on achieving, you know, some metrics and achievements. So we are shipping, you know, t-shirts, hats, whatever, out through our e-commerce store.
Right.
I don't know if you saw, but Brian Cornell from Target today said that since COVID-19 or since coronavirus, every day at Target has been like Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
In terms of e-commerce and the step up there. So people are obviously shopping from home.
Right.
They have more time to spend with computers, whatever. So that's how they're shopping. And so we're focused on e-commerce and building that. We just implemented a new site. And then I think the other thing a leader can do is celebrate milestones and celebrate achievements. You're going to have achievements every day, and celebrate those with your teams.
So, Dick, just since you brought that up, I want to question, has your e-commerce sales increased dramatically than what they had been in the past?
Yeah, they have, but
Still
it's not a great comparison,
Right.
because we just implemented a new site called, we're working with a company called Shopify.
Okay.
And we had a really old platform before called Magenta. And so we've implemented during this time period.
Right.
It was planned, but we've implemented a new site. But we're still learning that. But yes, the fact is we're well ahead of where we were last year.
Good. Good. I like that. Anybody else want to share some of the things they're doing?
I know one of the things that we've been doing at work is having everyone compile 2 to 3 projects that they've always wanted to work on, but always kind of got pushed aside because there was always something else more important. Now that some of those tasks can't be focused on, let's look at what are some of those things we'd like to accomplish and didn't have the time to, and let's make those the new priority and get some of those things up and running and people focusing on that to stay positive that, again, we're moving forward. We're not just sitting back, letting the world go by.
Yeah. And I think you're both right. I think having that vision, you know, like Dick said, opening on the 25th of June, right? I believe was the date. And you working on tasks that maybe kept getting put on the back burner. It gives people something to work towards. It gives them a vision. It gives them a goal. It gets them motivated again. Because otherwise, you know, even with ourselves, it's real easy to get stuck in that worry state. You have to see an end or a light in the tunnel to work towards. I like that. couple people posted on the side, way more reliant on social media outlets. I agree. Support your service industries you used to visit. I sent my hairdresser money today, told her I missed her service. You know, and thinking of that, that was one of the things that, and I don't remember where exactly it was, but there was a hairdresser locally here somewhere within, I believe, Forest or Oneida County, maybe Langley, but they had put together a program to support their services within their salon. And what they did is they were allowing people to purchase them now to bring in at a later date, just to keep money flowing in those areas. There's creative ways. You know, there's a little shop here in town that is completely went online trying to sell things and is, you know, selling a lot where they've never sold anything online before, you know, and they're doing it through Facebook Live. They're just doing little demos. We have to be creative, but we have to give, especially, I mean, we have to focus ourselves, but we really have to help focus our team as well, because especially the ones that are on furlough or the ones that aren't sure how long their jobs are going to be at home. You know, it's scary. It's scary not knowing if you're going to have that steady income. So by, you know, staying in contact with them, giving them additional information, I think that would really, really be beneficial. Let's see, Kathleen said, as an executive coach and leader development consultant, offering clients pro bono support via Zoom and webinar. Yeah, and that's what a lot of us are doing, exactly. And as leaders, we can do that directly with our teams. You know, whether they're working with us right now or not, you can just do little chat sessions with them on different occasions. I think that would keep them, they would feel like they're still part of something rather than just being laid off or on furlough. I think it would really help focus them. Vilas County Economic Development Corp is encouraging people to buy gift cards and gift certificates for local businesses again to help with giving back places and moving some cash flow. I like that one too. People are coming up with great ideas. I love it. Of the 3 distractions that we're going to number 2, I know we kind of jumped to number 3 and we're going back to number 2, sorry. Of the 3 distraction traps that John shared, which are most susceptible to times in a crisis? The mind wandering, the negative thinking, or uncertainty and anxiety? Why do you feel that way? Which one affects you most? Negative thinking? Diane says on the side. Mind wandering? Yeah. When you say negative thinking, what are some of the thoughts that happen during that time? Anybody wants to share? Or if Diane, you want to put more in? Uncertainty and trying times leads to negative thinking. Yeah, you know, I think that's a huge thing, is with the unknown is always scary. The what ifs, the possibilities of what could happen, because we always make it bigger and worse than what it is. I mean, regardless of the situation, it's always bigger. I'll share a little story with you this morning. Right before we were to come on, my computer lost its sound. I mean, we're 5 minutes before we're supposed to go live and I have no sound. Had to shut down, restart, and then it decided it wanted to do an upgrade. Great timing. And at that moment, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. Oh my gosh, this is going to happen. Your mind immediately, even on something as little as that, goes to the worst possible problem. If worst case scenario, I could have called in and let everybody know that I'm having some technical difficulties, but we panic. And I think, like you said, with the uncertainty and the anxiety, we start to panic. And that's where that gets worse. And that's where, we have to reground ourselves. I'm trying to go back to read some of these. Oh yeah, Diane said all the political stuff, people making this Democratic or Republican. We should all be in this together. Yeah, at this point, it doesn't matter what, whether you're a Democrat or whether you're a Republican. It's about what we can do to help each other out, how we can get through this crisis, through this pandemic. Uncertainty because of how quickly this thing ends depends on so much of what people can or can't do, or don't do. Yeah, you're right. The uncertainty of not knowing when for sure you can open up, that's definitely scary. Yeah, looking for people to blame based on prejudices. How many of you get angry about this situation? If you want, you can do the little reactions on the bottom. If you're one of them, you can raise your hand. I don't care how you point it out. Updated your will and felt much better about it, addressing the big fear. It's funny because I've talked to a lot of people that have said stuff like that, that it made them think about, their life insurance, their will, their, and I'm talking young people. I'm not talking, people that are in their 80s. It's making us think differently. Not angry, sad that the leaders don't lead. Yeah, that's a better way to think about it. Nobody in here got angry about any of this? Wow, I applaud you. Because usually the first thing that happens when something like this occurs, when a crisis occurs, we do get angry. We do start pointing fingers. We do start trying to throw somebody under the bus, or trying to blame somebody, or it's the government, it's this, it's that. That is anger that usually causes those emotions. Yeah, Jeff says he doesn't like the way this has divided the nation. Kim, you agree? I think most of us would agree with that. So good. If we're not blaming and we're not listening to other people blame, we're past the anger phase of this. So what is the next phase, do you think, that we'll be going through? What is the phase you're in right now? The no complaining rule. Jeff said he's finishing that book right now. That is a good book if nobody's read it. Angry, but only worry about what I have control over. Yeah. I'm not sure who said that because I don't have a big screen here. In reality, we're going through the grieving process. These emotions are part of grieving. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a good way to put it. Trying to think strategically for the future, trying to be prepared for what may come. Yeah. I mean, even when Dick talked about originally having a strategic plan and a business plan of moving forward, that's all changed. And the scary, or the part that puts us all a little bit on edge, is we don't know what may come. So we're planning for something that we don't even know where we're going. And that makes it a little difficult. Circle of influence, circle of concern, acceptance of the virus in our society and being prepared for it in many ways. Accept the situation, work through the problems as they come along. I think that's the best advice. I really do. I think it's a matter of dealing with what is in front of us and not the what ifs. Working on a no complaining week. Has anybody ever done that before, by the way? Has anybody ever done a no complaining campaign with your team? I I do a lot of side coaching sessions, and one of the things, and I use this with my kids when they were little, if they could hear me right now, they'd probably yell at me. But one of the things that I always said is, you know, it's really easy to point out the bad about everything. We are a negative culture, so we're really, really quick to come up with negative things when stuff like this is happening. And one of the challenges that I've always asked is, okay, so identifying what is bad, we've done that. Now identify what is good. Focus on what is good, not focusing on what is bad. Why does that matter? Why does that make a difference? Sally said she's frustrated that being asked to consider and plan for a future that will never be the same that we had before. So what are some of the good things that are coming out of this transition, this pandemic that we're in? Yeah, it is tough to be forward thinking, but worrying about tomorrow takes away today. Changes your thing from negative to positive. Yeah, when you start focusing on some of the positive things, because it's real easy to get in that woe is me, that negative state. But when you can start focusing on some of the good things that are happening, that just changes the stress that you're under a lot of times. Sandy said, I hope that we'll soon be able, oops, sorry. I lost you there for a second, Sandy. Getting a lot of comments, so it keeps moving me. Sandy says, I hope we'll soon be able to focus on reopening plan at the college. That's all I can see. To offer face-to-face services. It'll be easier when we can focus on what needs to be done, symptom checking employees, making sure we have PPE and testing protocols in place, etc. Yeah, that's really important. Working to change, I'm sorry, my computer's really happy mouse today. Working to change in business plan, redoing e-website and e-commerce. Yeah, I think a lot of us have been working on the social side of our marketing rather than the face-to-face. Reinforcing relationships and entities that you work with and developing relationships with new ones. I think a lot more flexibility will come of this. We are working out a new normal and we can carry some of the new methods forward once we can open back up. I agree. Yeah, I like that one, Jen. Anybody else have anything to say or add? For everybody almost unanimously wanting to keep the mute off and be able to talk, everybody's chatting still, so I guess the ones that filled out the survey probably aren't maybe here today because we don't have as big of a group. I know several people were unable to make it. It's good to have the option.
It's the texting mentality.
Yeah.
We're so used to texting that that's how people communicate now.
It is. It is. It's not just our kids, you know, they can be in their bedroom, you can call them and they don't answer, but send them a text and they're responding like that. Jen said there's a lot of background noise having the mics on. Is anybody else experiencing that?
I'm not hearing anything.
Okay. I was gonna say on my side, it sounds pretty good. Sandy said her internet's pretty slow, so it's easy to type than talk. I like seeing people on the video though. That's cool. So when we were together last week, one of the things that I had asked each of you was to come up with a commitment of one thing you were going to do different during the week. Did anybody get a chance to work on that?
This is Kathy. One of the things that I did was I took a a class on NLP, which is, I think it's neuro-linguistic programming, right?
Yep.
Is that programming or processing? But it talks to anchoring and creating new neural pathways. And so my commitment was to practice my anchoring so that I could become more flexible in shifting my emotions intentionally through the anchoring process that I learned with NLP.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned NLP. I don't know if anybody else has ever had the opportunity to attend a Tony Robbins training, but if you ever get the opportunity, I would highly recommend it, but you may want to just look him up on social media, YouTube. You can find him various places. You can check his website out and look at a bunch of his stuff, but he talked about NLP a lot. And what was really cool about attending his seminar, there were 7,000 people there. And I was going as a trainer, as somebody who goes in and does trainings at different places. I wanted to see from the pro what he does. You know, what is all this hype about him? And it was actually pretty amazing, because one of the things that he taught us in that session was we're in total control of our emotions. And he would take us from the lowest point in our life, where literally 7,000 people are crying. I mean, people are sobbing. And he would teach us that, like that, we could change it. That's how much control we have that we don't even realize we have. And he did that multiple times over the long weekend that we were there. But it's something that you have to practice. Like you said, it's something that we have to become conscious of, because it's real easy to stay there. Simon Sinek has another video on similar to that, where he talks about that our brain, when we react to something, it's only like a matter of seconds, maybe 4 to 10 seconds, that it's actually causing that reaction in us. And after that, it's our choice. So we have that immediate be upset about something, be hurt about something, but it's optional to let it linger. And again, that's something that, you know, it takes practice. So thank you for sharing that with us. Anybody else? Any other challenges of things that you did last week to help get you through to this week?
I actually began to read, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour a day with everything turned off.
Yeah.
So no television, no phone, no iPad,
Yeah.
just sitting, you know, in a chair. Unfortunately, it's too darn cold to be outside.
Right.
You know, to go out on the pier on a Adirondack chair, but maybe this weekend. But just, you know, spending some time with a book, The Innovator's Mindset, which is the one I picked up and started, and it just felt good to get through some chapters, you know.
I like that. Susan said she committed to taking one day unplugged. Nice. A couple people had mentioned, like Sandy, you had mentioned in the beginning that you don't look at your Facebook or your social media when you first get up. I think that's a change, because I think you have all those messages. You know, you pick up your phone in the morning, because of course we don't use alarm clocks anymore. We use our phones as our alarm if we get up to an alarm. So when you wake up, you have this list of things, and it can be emails, it can be messages, it can be Facebook notifications, Instagram notifications, whatever, the Twitter, the LinkedIn, There are so many different ways we get notified of things. And that in itself can be overwhelming. So I think, finding that time to unplug is important, whether it's you unplug for the first hour of the day where you don't check that stuff, or maybe you start your day and you go for a walk. Find something that works for you to start your day and ground you, and walk away during the day when you start getting frustrated, when you start getting into that negative mindset, or, maybe you've watched too much TV or social media stuff has been too negative during the day, and you can feel that you're changing, that you've got more stress or more tension. Get up, walk away, go for a walk around the yard, just walk around the house. Skip the refrigerator if possible, because that's something that we're all doing, is going to the refrigerator a lot more. Kathleen said, same as Dick mentioned earlier, 30 minutes of major network world news and 30 minutes of local news. Yeah, limit it. Only you have a choice as to what you bring in. Find the positive things. Are there any positive outlooks that you guys have been tapping into? Are there podcasts that you're listening to? Are there YouTube videos that you're watching? Are there books that you're reading that you'd like to share with the group, just to give ideas?
I have had for years a large collection of CDs that I love but don't pay much attention to.
Yeah.
So last week I started to work my way through all 9 of Beethoven's symphonies.
Ooh, nice.
It takes a little while. Much as I love it, smaller doses make me more appreciative. But I'm finished number 4.
Very nice. What's your plan after you're finished with the 5th one?
To go through all 9.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said there were 5.
Nope, I'm going to get
All the
through
way
all 9,
Nice.
and then perhaps look at something else, a different genre. But
Okay. Nice. Anyone else? I'm gonna do a shout out. I'm not sure. I'm gonna grab it off my shelf here. I'm gonna do a shout out for a friend of mine that I met last year, and that's this book, The Transformative Leader by Amir Granad. Had the opportunity of meeting him. I did share his information on the Facebook and through the email as well. He's a great speaker. He's a great leader. Has some very simplistic tools in the book on his website, just to kind of help keep people grounded, keep us, restoring our power is one of his tools in the back of the book. The transformative blueprint of things that you can do to make a difference today and every day. So just wanted to shout out for him for that. Listening to leadership CDs. Yeah, I'm listening to stuff nonstop while I'm working. And it's funny because I'll actually be working and I'll hear something and I'll have to rewind it and listen to it again because it's good. Just sat in his first session today. I'm not sure who you're referring to, Susan, sorry. Again, there's, with Amir, nice. Reading Atomic Habits by James Clear, like it. Anybody else? Are there any podcasts that you like listening to? I know I had a friend reach out and ask for different podcasts that I listen to. One that I listen to and I also watch videos and stuff on YouTube would be Wayne Dyer. To me, he's just very inspirational and uplifting. Tony Dungy's Uncommon Life. Okay. Thinking of other podcasts again, I'm thinking of Simon Sinek, EntreLeadership. Dave Ramsey. I like Amir has a podcast. Dave Gambrell has a good podcast. There's so many out there, and it's all at our fingertips. And we have opportunities and time now to be able to tap into some of these resources. So I hope that you do, and it helps reground you and uplift you some. So besides the books and different things, what are some of the other things that you're specifically doing to stay positive during your day? Especially if you're working at home. How are you staying positive while you're working? Gary Schoenberg, the ELI has a webinar tomorrow, Entrepreneur Mindset. Thanks, Sandy. That'd be great if you share that. Trying to focus on one project at a time and feeling accomplished when it's done. Diffusing essential oils. Yeah, I think it's a matter of finding what works for you. And the reason I'm asking everybody for the different options is because maybe they never thought about trying one of the things that you're using. Jeff, focusing on blessings, of course. Love it.
I'm addicted to lists, and therefore I put everything that I plan to do in long-term and short-term on a list because of the buzz I get from crossing it off.
Anybody else like crossing off that list? I do the same thing. Finding good in people and situations. Yeah. Susan likes checking it off the list as well. The list never goes away, does it? We just keep adding to it.
Right. It just moves to another page and gets longer.
Yeah, it does. But we only focus on one page at a time, right? Keep adding, but checking off. Checking off the list shows. Yeah, if it wasn't on the list, you add it so you can check it off just because it feels good. You know, it's really funny. That brings up a comment. In one of my classes not too long ago, we were talking about, you know, if we have an amazing day, everything's just kind of going good, and right at the end of the day, something just tanks. Something goes horribly wrong. What do you focus on the rest of the night? Do you focus on all the good things that happened during the day, or do you focus on that one thing that went wrong? Most of us focus on that one thing. And sometimes it's so minor, but it just drives us crazy because it happened. What I'd like you to do is change that focus, recognize that it happened, realize what you learned from it, because it's not a fail unless you don't learn a lesson. It's a growth opportunity. For every time we have one of those slips or one of those falls, it's a growth opportunity. So think of it like that. But don't let that one thing wreck the rest of your day. It's a choice. I'm going to go back. I've got a few comments here that I didn't get to read. Schedule a daily wellness break at 3. Change it up every day with stretching, mindfulness, meditation, gratitude, practice. Like it. Every hour or two, checking that I'm still moving forward with my day in a productive way, refocusing if necessary. Yeah, because sometimes we can get off track. I like it. Focus on the good. Have you ever had, looking at question number 6, have you ever had experienced a leader who got distracted during a crisis. What were some of the things that they did? What made them distracted? How did they react to the people around them? How did it impact people around them? I guess I'll share a story when I think of that. Yeah, critical task didn't get done. Thank you. When you're dealing with a leader that's very distracted and focuses on that one thing that goes wrong, what happens to the morale of everybody on the team? Just worked with a client whose boss became super micromanager. Yeah. Some people think that's how they stay in control, is they start micromanaging what everybody's doing. I had worked with, going back to the story I was starting to say, I'd worked with somebody at one time where she became so enraged and so, I don't want to say violent, but so loud and boisterous when things weren't going well, that anything that went wrong, they didn't want to share it with her because she would freak out. Your employees start hiding things. You know, we create the surrounding that we live, and if we react poorly in situations, people aren't going to share freely when things are not good, because they don't want to be at your wrath. So I think, you know, really trying to stay in control of our emotions. And I was a young manager once. I remember doing that too, where, you know, you just freak out. It doesn't help. It doesn't make the situation any better. Find ways to relax and think it through. You know, when thinking of working with different leaders and things, one of the things that I always suggest is, when something bad happens, take a deep breath, ask them, what did they learn from the situation? What would they do differently now that they're looking back? You know, ask questions rather than be accusatory. Get all the facts, you know, find out what really happened, what they learned from it. Oftentimes they know the answers and they know how to fix it the next time. They're just telling us to tell us because we're the boss. Okay. Number 7, what was the result of the leader's distracted leadership? You know, in the case that I just talked about, it caused absolute chaos within the work environment. Turnover was dramatic, higher than it had ever been. And ultimately, it was a matter of time before that person ended up losing their job, because they couldn't manage well. They could do the job well when they were in the job, but when they became the manager, it didn't work. You know, and sometimes I think we set people up to fail as well. Right now is an opportunity where we can be tapping into providing more training for our employees, whether it be taking classes online or watching videos, doing webinars. There's an opportunity right now that there hadn't been in the past, because in the past we were so busy at work. Maybe now's a good time to start building those future leaders within your teams. You know, providing more insight, and maybe it's coming directly from you. You know, maybe you don't have to send them out to somebody else. If you have extra time on your hands, then maybe doing something like a webinar with your team, and getting them brainstorming, getting them thinking about how to change things, do things differently in the future, will help grow them. And in the long run, think of what it will do for your business. last question thank you, Diane. The last question, number 8, what is the best advice for a leader who needs to pull themselves together and why? What would you tell somebody? Usually it's newer leaders that don't react real well. But how would you help them pull themselves together?
Take a deep breath.
That's the first thing. Remember, it's not about you. It's about the people. I love it. They have to realize people are, I think we're missing part of what you were saying, Jeff. Watching them. Yeah. A lot of people just react and they don't realize how it affects anybody around them. Take a deep breath and walk it off. Reset. Remember, one of the things that I always tell leaders is you're always on stage. People are always watching. And whether it's, how you react to a situation in a grocery store, it's how you react when a team member doesn't show up when they're supposed to be there, or how you react to COVID-19. People are constantly watching you. They're looking for you to be their grounding point. And being in control of who you are helps them be in control of who they are. Oftentimes when people do react poorly in situations, their team starts to too, because they see it as being okay. It's an acceptable way to act. And that's not the way you want to do it. I can't hear what you're saying because I'm too busy watching what you're doing. Yeah, actions speak louder than words often. Even if you're taking that deep breath, but you're slamming something down, or you're, throwing things around a little bit in the process, they're reading into it. Good point, Jeff. I like that. All right, we are down to the last 8 minutes. Again, I would like to see commitments from each of you, something that you're going to use, something that you're going to do a little bit differently than you did last week. Something, maybe reach out to different people to build one another up, or as John always puts it, pour into one another. Well, I like that Diane asked people to envision how they want to be when they're being their best selves, then ask them to think about what that means in terms of actions and words regularly. I like that. Good advice. So what's one thing that you're gonna take away from today's training and that you're gonna try? Anybody willing to share? Let it go. Don't hold on to it. Yeah. Yeah, that's important. It's not easy though, is it? Anyone else willing to share? Less social media news. Creatively think about how to do things differently when we reopen. I like that. And that may be something too that brainstorming with other businesses, people that used to be your competitors may become your best allies right now. You may be able to work together to get through this time. Limit time watching national news. Get outside for at least an hour a day, even if it's still cold. Focus on the positive and uplift others, and listen to 3 audios a day. Ooh, that's a big one. I like that. Anyone else? Well, my challenge is I'm going to keep looking for additional resources to share with you guys. Again, I'll probably do another survey to find out how to make this better for you, what we can do to improve it. Because again, the only way I can get better is if you tell me how. So I do want your candid responses. I think that's really important and beneficial. And I'm asking because I want to be better. Try not to dwell on negative and focus on the positives. I like that one. I'm just going to go back and make sure we answered the questions that were on the survey list here. Now, I know last time we spoke, quite a few people had mentioned that they aren't on Facebook. That's why we emailed to everyone a survey just to try and get everybody's involvement and ideas and suggestions. Feel free to email me if you have any questions or thoughts or comments or ways to improve. I'm always, like I said, however you want to respond is great. There were a couple comments of things that one of the things that one of the participants, and it doesn't tell me who says it, but staying effective during crisis is so important. I think we kind of addressed that. Interesting thing from another group this week, people felt their attitudes toward jobs had changed for the better due to the current situation. Ooh, that's interesting. I like that one. Post-crisis, how will we apply what we have experienced to building our leadership capabilities? Yeah, I think this is stretching all of our leadership abilities, definitely. Is there any final thoughts anybody would like to share? Any final commitments? Well, again, we do have that Facebook page, and I will be sending out an email with last week's and probably sometime this week's video if you want to share with anybody. If there's any tools or resources that you would like to share with the group, again, please feel comfortable in sharing that with us, and we'll get it out there. Sandy, thank you. I look forward to these sessions too, because this is the only interaction I'm getting and I'm loving it. I want to thank everybody for joining us again today for session 2. We will meet back here next week on Thursday at 1 o'clock for session 3. Thank you and have a great week. Make it the best. Stay positive.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.
How do we?